Hi, hello, welcome to episode 2 of TBR Tackle. So episode 1, I just edited and realized that I wanted to do this concept after I'd already edited and uploaded the video, but you won't see it for a while. Also, sorry for this weird angle. I'm cooking, and this is the best I can do. But I'm like, you know what? I want to be posting these. I kind of need to figure out what I'm doing here. So I've decided that TBR Tackle is going to be hopefully kind of a weekly update thing. Maybe every 2 weeks. We'll kind of see. I don't want to give myself too many strict guidelines. But I want to post on Thursdays. Thursday is TBR Tackle Day. My reading progress. My goal is to read from my bookshelves as much as possible. I've kind of mentioned that. I have 100 and some odd books, which I know is not as much compared to other people, but it is for me that I own this many books that I have not read. And I would like to get that number down because I do consume a lot of books. And I know that a large part of why I don't read the books that I own is because I work at a library and I can just get books whenever I feel like it. Which, blessing and a curse, right? Because I just get a book from the library and I don't read what I own. So it's a never-ending cycle. Use your libraries, they're great. So one of my big reading goals this year is to read from my bookshelves as much as possible and to fit the books that I own into my TBRs, to fit prompts for challenges, and things like that. And so I also want to share my thoughts as I read, but I don't want to do a monthly wrap up because by the time I get done with the month, I read so many and I have so many thoughts, but then I've forgotten what I thought and it just becomes too much. So hopefully now if I can do a bi-weekly kind of schedule, then I can talk about my books and I can tackle my TBR and my physical TBR and my other TBR, I guess, as well for my reading challenges and stuff. I don't know. It was not explained in episode 1 because like I said, I just kind of fleshed it out after I went ahead and edited that video and then was ooh, I should make this into a series. So here's the explanation now. That being said, I have finished another book. I have finished Ghost Station by S.A. Barnes. I listened to the audiobook. And Ghost Station is following a psychologist, Dr. Ophelia Bray. Something has happened before the events of the novel begin, and she basically has agreed to go on what would be a last-ditch effort mission kind of thing. So we find out, also this is set in the future, this is sci-fi horror. We're in the future, hundreds of years into the future, and she is a psychiatrist who deals with ERS, which is basically a psychosis that happens when people go out into deep space for too long, and it starts as paranoia and can then just lead down a rabbit hole of violence, and then these people who have it typically hurt themselves, so sometimes others. She just had a patient who jumped off of the roof of her building before the book started, and there's been a huge fallout because of this. She should have saved him, she should have helped him, all that. This is her fault basically. Her family is very powerful, they're very important, they own a company that is in charge of these space missions, and she works for a different company, works for their competitor. And because she is in the news and in the media and everyone is going crazy because of her patient death, she decides, like I said, she's going to take this mission and she's going to go to a remote colony with her team that she has never met before, and they are doing a research mission. They are going to a planet that was previously owned by her family's company. They abandoned it, sold the rights to her now employer, and so they're going to go check it out, figure out what's going on with this planet. Their team has also suffered a recent loss, and they need to have a psychiatrist there to help them like through this process of they've lost a team member, what's going on, make sure that they're all okay, and stuff like that. They don't want her there. She feels like she has to be there. She has this horrible like savior complex that she's got to save them all, and things start to quickly unravel. Things are left horribly like disheveled when they get to this planet. Like it was a previous like colony outpost, and things are just kind of weird. They don't know what's going on, and then the team members slowly start to act weird, and they start finding more and more signs that something wasn't quite right, but they don't know what, and blah 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 blah. All of this to say, it was not as good as Dead Silence. I adored Dead Silence by this author last year. Gave it 5 stars. It was amazing. The audiobook was phenomenal. I recommended it so hard to so many people. I gave it to my sister for Christmas. Like, one of my best books of 2024. And this book just did not do it for me. I liked the concept, but the characters started to feel very stagnant. Like it was the same conversation over and over and over again, where our main character, Dr. Bray, has a shady past and she doesn't want to talk about it. She can't open up. This team doesn't want to open up to her because she's an outsider and they don't trust her. And if she gives them like a bad mark, then they will get like docked and they'll never get to go do their jobs again. And there's something happening, but they don't believe her that something's happening. And there's just, the whole thing is that they distrust each other. And a lot of this could have been avoided. The events that happened could have been avoided if they would have just talked to her. And because of that, it just felt very repetitive. And then when it did come out, the big like bad or whatever, it just kind of fell flat. I just wanted more. It did not give me the same as her first book did. And that is a sad time. I think I gave this a 3 stars. Like, it was good. It wasn't great. It wasn't the best. It was good. Like, 3 stars. So, and with that, this is where part 1 of episode 2 of TBR Tackle is going to be, because I gotta get cooking. I'm trying to film a quick update, but Kennedy was behind me. She's not anymore, but she was like rolling all over the floor. And then she just got up and walked away. Whatever. I'm here to tell you that I finished Flawed, and I'm giving it a 3. I wanted to like it. As I was like, I hit a point where I was like, this could be a 4. Like, this could be a 4. And then I realized it's the Hunger Games. And I love the Hunger Games. Don't get me wrong. When that series came out and I was in high school, I read it. I devoured it just like everyone else. I was obsessed with it. I loved the Hunger Games, and I still do. I own them. They're fantastic. However, this, I just found myself getting angry, and like uncomfortable. I've already kind of hashed it out what was going on in my other video, but you know, we're following Celestine. She ends up on trial. She gets branded as being flawed, but then it goes beyond that. And there were certain parts of this book where, to me, it stopped making sense. The bounds for what we were expected to believe started very much like here. We're getting a novel about this, and then as the story went on, it kept spreading and spreading and spreading, and it just felt like we were supposed to believe more and more and more. That felt less and less and less real. Well, hi, buddy. And that bothered me. It started to stretch way more. It started to stretch my willingness to go along with this story, and felt very contrived. And it was just too much. So she gets branded, right? And now she has to live a life with the flawed. And that in itself, I think, is what did me in. It took me out of this state of suspending my disbelief, because there are all these laws that you have to follow when you are a flawed. And you can only eat certain things, but you're allowed a luxury one day a week, and you have a curfew and you can't go anywhere. And it is no bones about it. It is a depiction of apartheid. Anyone who is flawed is now put into a database, and they can't travel. They are not allowed to leave the country. They are followed. They are monitored at all times. If you are flawed, like I said, you can only eat certain things. You can only, like, there are certain areas that you're allowed to be in. People look at you as if you're diseased. They don't want to teach you. They don't have to talk to you. They look down on you. Like, you are horribly mistreated because you are considered other. And you get a whistleblower who, like, checks on you every single day to make sure you're not breaking any rules. And then it gets very convoluted. You're like, okay, but there's a law in their society that says you can't aid a flawed. And of course, that's very vague. But then there were certain things, like her mother, there were certain things her mom did where her mom very pointedly said, like, I'm going to help her. And if that was against the law, then her mom should have gotten in trouble. But her mom didn't. And her mom would say this in front of, like, the whistleblowers or the other people who were supposed to make sure that the flawed weren't, like, infecting. It just became so convoluted where I couldn't believe the structures and the laws anymore, because they were constantly breaking them in dumb ways. And that just made me mad. I also did not like her and her boyfriend's relationship at all. If they had just been best friends, I think I would have liked it more, but it had to add this romance element where she is pining for this guy the entire book. And he runs away and she wants to find him. And then when they do meet up, it's awful. Like, they get mad at each other. Like, he gets mad at her, and it's convoluted. That's the best. It's convoluted. And I really, really wanted to like it, but I couldn't stop seeing the similarities about, we have this girl who is unknowingly become a symbol of a revolution. She's become a symbol of change. And I just couldn't stop drawing those lines to Katniss, and it just kind of ruined it for me. And then I was mad about how it was breaking its own rules. And I was mad about the boyfriend. Did I give it a 2? Now that I'm thinking about it, did I actually give this a 2? I think I gave it a 2, not a 3. I just don't, because I don't like it. I really wanted to, but I don't. I don't hate it. I don't despise it, but I don't like it. And I'm not necessarily going to be recommending it. And I'm not going to keep it because it's a 2. So I'm also going to unhaul this. It's going to get its jacket put back on. It was also from an owl crate, and so it came with a letter from the author. I believe that this was her debut young adult novel. This author, Cecilia Aaron, didn't realize it. She wrote P.S. I Love You, and it has a sequel, and I loved the movie P.S. I Love You. Was obsessed with it for a while when that came out. And then her other book, Love, Rosie, that both became motion pictures. She lives in Ireland, but whatever. I am going to unhaul this. I'm going to give this to my friend. She is a bookseller. I can give it to her, and hopefully she can sell it. Or it'll go to a little free library. One or the other. I will not be donating it to my library where I work because it is an older book. I doubt that they would necessarily want it, or we already have copies of it in the library. I do look at that. They won't need another copy because we already own it. So it's going to go somewhere else where it can be loved and appreciated and hopefully read again by someone else that is not me, and it will not live on my shelf and take up space. So there's that. Next, since I don't have a physical book to read, and I need one because Caden has soccer tonight, I'm going to read... I'm going to start this. This is The Beekeeper's Apprentice, or On the Segregation of the Queen by Laurie R. King. This is that like Sherlock Holmes book. So I'm going to read this. I'm going to start this that I've owned. And I'm reading this has a pattern on the cover. Let's get that. But now I have to go because I got to go get my son. I will check in again soon.
I can't keep up. It's driving me crazy. I'm hot, but of course I'm in a sweater. That was really just for the continuity. I wasn't wearing this to clean, but I popped back on so like you know it's the same day. As if you care. As if I can't tell you that I'm wearing a different outfit later in the day. What's wrong with me?
I'm on my couch again. I know, Kennedy. It is Wednesday. I'm a little scatterbrained. This is the day my very first Whip Wednesday has gone up. And I'm just sitting here questioning myself of like, why did I do this? I'm going to start all these series and have like episodes. And now I'm like, can I actually keep up with this? Or am I going to inevitably lose steam or film a video and say, fuck it, because I don't feel like editing it. And then the series falls by the wayside. And then like, yeah, I'm just thinking a lot. And I don't question myself necessarily that often. I do kind of go, why, brain, why? But I think it's more that this week, my husband is gone on his yearly business trip. It happens every January. He is gone for a week and it's just me and the kiddo. And this year I was more anxious about it this year than I have in years past because our schedules are completely different now. Elementary school was one thing, but now that we're in middle school, his school hours are different than they were previously. And so that's stressful. And that, because I'm the only parent, that means that, now drop off and pick up is solely on me instead of my husband, which we usually split that equally. But he's gone. So then I have to take care of it, which means I had to move all of my stuff around at work. My schedule at work changed because I have to accommodate my kid. And he also is in sports and he has a sports practice nearly every day of the week. And again, normally my husband and I split that amongst each other and we take turns over who takes him, or we have a set schedule of who takes him on what days. And with him not being here, it's all fallen on me. And there's been a lot of pressure on myself. I've been very afraid that I'm going to mess something up or miss the time or forget something. So I've just there was a lot of anxiety on myself, which is a shame. I can be here. It's not the end of the world that he's gone on a business trip. I miss him. I don't like that he's gone. I never sleep well when he's away, and anyone who regularly shares a bed will understand this. I'm really tired and I'm ready for my husband to come home, and we still have another couple days left of this. So we are like halfway through. I just got to make it the other half, and this is like the point where I'm done. I'm done with him being gone. I'm ready for him to come home. But that being said, I have 2 book updates for you. One is that I have finished The Fetishist. I read this in 2 days. I listened to the audiobook. This book is a literary fiction novel following the stories and lives of about 4 to 5 people and how their lives intersect. So, a grieving daughter's revenge on the man who caused her mother's death sets off a series of unexpected reckonings. On a cold, gloomy night, 23-year-old Kyoko stands in the rain with a knife in her hoodie's pocket. Her target is Daniel, who seduced Kyoko's mother, then callously dropped her, leading to her death. But tonight there will be repercussions. Following the unsuspecting Daniel home, Kyoko manages to get a rash kidnapping plot off the ground, and then nothing goes as planned. The Fetishist is the story of 3 people: Kyoko, a Japanese-American punk rock singer full of rage and grief; Daniel, a philandering violinist forced to confront the wreckage of his past, and Alma, the love of Daniel's life, a Korean-American cello prodigy long adored for her beauty, passion, and talent, but who spends her final days examining if she was ever truly loved. So I think what also about this is really, really beautiful is that the author died in 2019, and then her daughter worked really, really hard to pull together the manuscript of this book and have it published after her death, and it actually wasn't published until 2024. When her mom was diagnosed with breast cancer, she quit working on this novel altogether and focused instead on writing like essays and like nonfiction. And then her daughter, but her daughter went back and, just recovered her documents and decided to have this published anyways. And I think that is really, really beautiful. Alma, we are following Alma, who is living with MS, and she is tired of fighting and has reflected back on her life and her accomplishments and is like unsatisfied with her life. Daniel is on the other side of the world, and he is old, and he's recently divorced, and I shouldn't say old, he's middle-aged, but recently divorced, and he is also questioning his entire life and all of the choices that have led to this point. And then we have Kyoko and her boyfriend Cornell, who are young and vibrant and she is full of rage. Cornell is not. He is a beautiful giant of a man, a gentle giant of a man. And it is just how their lives all intersect and intertwined over the years, and how it is related across time and across people. It is intense. There are some really heavy conversations in here about race and identity and power, and what it means to have power or to not have power, identity, and your place in like the world and with others. It is very powerful. That being said, I don't think that this was a great book. I liked it. I enjoyed it. It was a good book, but it wasn't a great book. Like, this is not a 4-star for me. This is not a 5-star for me. I felt like I was supposed to rate it really, really highly because it's supposed to be like literary. But it wasn't for me, and that's okay. I liked the commentary a lot. It deals a lot with how Asian women are fetishized as a whole. The fetishist is Daniel. He pursues Asian women, and it is very much like that is discussed in here. There are allegories to Lolita, like Catherine Min was directly inspired by Lolita. So that is really interesting. I think that does come across clearly. It's not a retelling by any means, but there are connections to it. And I think that matters. That is important. I think those conversations are valuable to have, and we need to have those conversations about how Asian women in particular are fetishized and how we view them as it says in the book, like little China dolls, or they all are lumped as, oh, you must be Chinese, or they're all Japanese, right? And like, I think there are scenes where she explores that concept so well that I really, really enjoyed. But overall, the story just wasn't for me. I was leaning heavily towards a 4 until the later parts, like near the end, the last like 25%, the last quarter, where I just was left going, no, I don't want this to be the ending. I mean, the book opens and says everyone gets a happy ending, just depending on where the story ends. And so I thought we were going to go one way with the story, and we went a different way with the story, and I was like, no, this is not what I want to happen. I'm going to leave it with a 3.5. I think that's fair for me. It was good, wasn't great. But there is a quote that I really, really liked. Kyoko, as a young woman, is struggling with the loss of her mother. And I mean, it has been years since her mother has died, and yet she is still holding on to so much anger and grief. And there's a quote here about death, and that really resonated with me as someone who has lost a parent, not in the way that she lost her mother, but I understand that anger. This is the quote. When someone dies, our impulse is to flatten her out, to press her between wax paper like a leaf, or to fix her in amber like a bug. Death as capture, death as collected works. But death is a false terminus, one moment only. It seems more significant because it is the last moment, the most recent, when really it is the smallest and least telling. Life is the plumpness of all directions, of surprises and contradictions, of impulses, mistakes, duplicities, and redemptions, while the vanishing point on the horizon line is a dot, a blip, the same for us all. And I love that. I love that so much because it reminds us that while death is coming for all of us, like it is inescapable, but while death is large and can often be the thing we hold on to the most about someone, that's not who they were. It is one small aspect, just because it is the last aspect, but it is still one small aspect of a person's life that does not have to be what defines that person to us. And that I will be writing this down as like one of my favorite quotes because that just has stuck with me for sure. My other update is that I have started The Beekeeper's Apprentice, or On the Segregation of the Queen by Lori R. King. I am, I don't know, like a third, that feels right, about a third, or maybe a little more than a third. I'm actually probably closer to halfway, if I'm being honest. I'm probably close to halfway through this book. And I'm really enjoying it so far. The pace is very slow. It is kind of archaic language. It is told through us as if we are reading, not at all. It is told to us through first person perspective of Mary. We are looking through Mary Russell's eyes, through her journals. So the book opens with like a preface or an introduction by the author, Lori R. King. She's like a character within the novel where she has said, it's like, hey, the book in your hand, I didn't write this book. I can't take credit for it. One day, a mysterious trunk arrived on my porch and it was full of bound sheafs of paper, like these manuscripts and articles of clothing and other things. And I read all of them and transcribed them and turned them into the novel you have before you. They are, in fact, the journals of this Mary Russell. I have no idea who she is. I have no way of knowing if this is real or not, but they are supposedly her journals. And so here they are. I have not changed anything other than to like clean them up a little bit. But here is like the first journal of Miss Mary Russell. And so then the rest of the book is this, it's told in first person. It does not read like a diary. There are no like Dear Diary entries. It very much reads like a novel, but we are supposed to understand that it was a diary journal that has been transformed into this novel. Following Miss Mary Russell, we meet her when she is 15, and she has been recently orphaned. She lost her parents in an accident. We don't know what the accident was or like what happened, but her parents have passed, and she has been moved to like the English countryside where she lives with her like greedy aunt, and she has a bunch of money that she can't have access to until she like comes of age, like 21, I think. But she is this like precocious, highly intelligent 15-year-old. She meets Sherlock Holmes, who is retired, and they immediately form like a kinship. They become like best friends. This young girl with Sherlock Holmes, this retired like 50-something-year-old man, or 40-something, like he's middle-aged, and they form a bond because she is supposed to be on the same level as him, where she has the same capabilities and whatever, she thinks like him, she can make deductions like him, she's very, very intelligent, and he basically sees this in her and then decides to like take her under his wing and train her in everything that he has known. And the first part of this book has just been the exploration of those first 3 years of their relationship. where they get to know each other, and then he like has put her through tests and is trying to get her to hone her detective skills, and they do experiments together, and they so take like the Sherlock lore, if you know it, and apply it to a 15-year-old girl. And it has been a lovely time. It has been very jovial. It's been very lighthearted. I have really, really liked it. We are just now getting into the synopsis on the back of the book that mentions how they've been called to Wales to help Scotland Yard find the kidnapped daughter of an American senator. A case of international significance with clues that dip deep into Holmes's past. So that's just now happening at like almost halfway through. Like we just got to Wales. They just met the parents of this American girl. She's like 6 years old. She's been kidnapped. We just met them. Like we just got to this point. So it is very slow for that to be the synopsis. Like, and it is like old-timey language, like I said, kind of archaic at times, but I know for a fact it's not going to be a 5, and that's not only because, unfortunately, in this section, there have been some blackface, and I can't. Like, I can't in good conscience. I know, I understand this, but even saying like, no, that's not an excuse. I hate the like, it was a product of its time. Like, no, we know that this was not acceptable. Like, it should not have happened. Yes, this was written and published in 1994. The year I was born, it was 30 years ago. Sherlock Holmes and Mary decide that to go to Wales, they don't want people to recognize Holmes, so they're gonna show up in disguise, because they don't want people to like know that he's helping them and like create like a scene. So they're going to go to Wales in disguise. And the disguise, unfortunately, that they chose was to dress up as like nomad, like the nomadic peoples, like the Romanov peoples. And to do this, they paint their skin with like a black substance that stains their skin, and then they shower it off, but it leaves a residue, almost like a henna stain is what I'm picturing, but like it stains them, leaving them brown, as it says in the text. It dyes her blonde hair black, and so then it uses gypsy, which we now know is not an acceptable term for these people, and I just can't in good conscience give a 5-star to something where they so obviously are parading around in blackface or brownface in this case, and I can't. It's not okay. So that's a bummer, because I really, really like it so far, to the point where I'm considering like picking up the second book. I just really wish that wasn't in there, that we did this, and then they intentionally like make themselves sound worse and like sound unintelligent, and they fall into stereotypes and like racial like appropriation and like racial stereotyping that I have a problem with, of Holmes puts on like a fake gold tooth, and he speaks and like, again, makes himself sound ignorant and makes himself sound uneducated, and then he also is like violent, and they like stage this whole thing to get arrested where he like pretends to like attack Mary, and it's just, I don't like it. I don't like the stereotyping against like the nomadic people of this time, of putting them as violent and uneducated and rude, and all of just, I don't like it, and I just wish that wasn't in there, is all. Meh. Oh wow. I'm gonna keep reading it. I'm going to finish it, but unfortunately I think at this point the highest it can be is a 4.5, just because I can't. I don't know. I'll let you know.